Hello, I'm Gareth Jones. I'm the Head of Member Engagement at British Wool, and I'm delighted to be here this morning with two that have made a huge contribution to British Wool in this part of the country. We're in the Brecon Depot this morning. We've got Dewi, who has done 48 years service in the industry, and we've got Gethin Havard here, who was a board member for 12 years and the vice chairman. But that's a very brief introduction, but I think that you both would make a better job than me. So Dewi, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, I'm Dewi Jones, and I'm originally from a little village called Dinas up in North Wales, and I started with the wool trade in 1964, and I retired in 2013.
Yes.
I took over as manager when I was 22 years old, and then moved down to Brecon in 86, took over from the smallest depot in the country to the largest depot in one big step.
Yeah.
Which was some step, I tell you.
Yeah. I'm sure it was.
You know, living in a little village called Dinas with, what, 100 people living there?
Yeah.
And coming down here, and everything was done through the medium of Welsh, of course, up in North Wales.
Yes, exactly.
I come down here, I never spoke a word of English for weeks, you know.
No.
Except with the wife at home, of course, we still speak Welsh.
Yeah, yeah.
And we still speak the Dyfi Valley Welsh, you know, the
Yes.
Bech and the...
Bech, Gwan,
Yeah.
Efo.
Yeah.
And Gethin, you're local to you from Senny Bridge.
Yeah, I'm basically a sheep farmer who lives in the area. My family's been farming here now for 960 years, I think, since the Havards came to the outskirts of Brecon here. We've always had sheep, as do every other farmer in this area. And I'm young enough not to have known anything other than marketing wool through the British Wool Marketing Board. And, you know, it's been a very straightforward operation, knowing that you're going to get a fair price for your product at the end of the day. So that's probably why I became involved. I'm first and foremost a livestock farmer, but I've always had an interest in marketing. Hence, I enjoyed 12 years on the board when we saw some changes. We were of course hoping to see a bigger change in the sense of a better price of wool, but this is where we are at the moment.
Yeah. So going back to the start of your journey, then Dewi, going back 48 years, obviously, when you started in Dinas Mawddwy. So just explain to us, did you come in as a casual staff worker in the summer, and how did you start off in Dinas?
I left school when I was 15, and I went as a casual. Started off as a casual, and then at the end of the season they asked me would I like to be an apprentice, and I said I wouldn't mind that at all, but I was told then you can't start an apprenticeship till you're 16.
All right.
So I was having £3.75, £3.17 shillings and sixpence a week, and then when I started an apprenticeship they docked my wages by £1 a week.
Oh.
And then I did my apprenticeship, and then I was fortunate to get the manager's job when I was 22.
Yes.
Which was a bit of a shock, that was, in fact. I never thought for a minute that I'd be made manager. But and things have progressed from there.
Yeah, and the apprenticeship that you talk about, just explain to us, was it it used to be 5 years, it's changed a little bit now, but in your time it was 5 years?
It was 5 years,
And it was like on-the-job training, you'd go up to Bradford?
Yeah, we go to Bradford once a year on an apprentice course and see the different wools from different depots that we never used to see, of course, in Dinas Mawddwy then, because the bulk of that wool was Welsh.
Yes, yeah.
But things have altered now, of course, you know, there's all these continental breeds coming in now, which is, I wouldn't know where to look now.
No. Some things have changed, but as you say, whatever, you know, the Welsh Mountain, you know, it's still very much, certainly up in Dinas now, it's still very much a predominant breed, so in your case then, Gethin, you said you've always been interested in marketing of wool, so what was your sort of journey, as well as being interested? Were you involved with British Wool in some way, or did you stand as a board member? Or
Not at all involved pre-becoming a board member. I was asked to stand as a board member, probably because I'd been involved with a few other marketing things, the Brecon Radnor Circle Car Ferreras for 17 years, the Brecon Hill Lamb marketing through Marks and Spencer's for 10 years, and I was interested in sheep. So yeah, it was new to me, and I was acutely aware of the importance of the British Wool Marketing Board, having heard farmers talk of their regret that the Milk Marketing Board had disappeared, the FMC had disappeared, and slowly but surely we would be coming into the hands of others who didn't have our interests at heart. So I went there with a determination to do what I could, a small part, to try and make sure that this operation continued to deliver fairness, if nothing else, to thousands of producers, 30,000 or whatever they were, producers in Great Britain.
yeah. And during your time, you were vice chairman to Frank Langris. So
I was indeed.
You and Frank were the sort of team sort of steering the ship, if you like.
Well, I mean, Frank, in my eyes, was Mr. Wool. He knew so much about wool. He was very enthusiastic about it, and I have to say, I learned a lot with Frank about the operations. But we both saw the need to rationalise, because the operational costs in comparison with the value of wool were out of sync, and we had to try and make the job more efficient. Very difficult to change some things in this business. I mean, grading has to be graded by hand. There isn't a machine that'll grade wool as yet. But we shed quite a lot of staff. We extended this facility here, which in my eyes secured the future of Brecon. I know that Dewi for years had this on his shopping list, an extension here. He didn't manage to get it. I very much regret that I failed to deliver in his time, but it's made the operation here in Brecon more efficient than it would have been one time.
Yeah. And going back to, you were manager, did you say, was it 22? 22.
I took over as manager,
So, you know, if you had a blank canvas and we asked you to paint a picture of what it was like in Dinas in 22 when you took over, what would that picture look like?
It was a lot more manual then, of course.
Yeah.
Because there was hardly any machinery at all.
No.
We used to grade off the floor then.
All right, yeah.
There was no hoist the sheets up, you know.
No.
You'd have a boy picking the wool up and putting it on the table for you. So yeah, mechanically wise, it's altered beyond what you see the stack of wool over there. Well, we used to handball them years ago. Which we thought nothing of it.
Well, no, because we didn't know any difference.
We didn't know any difference at all. So we just carried on with it.
And then we've got the wool sheets that we've got, like the ones behind us now.
Yeah,
back in those days, you would have had the big jute sort of Hessian bales.
Yes, it was all jute then. There was no plastic at all then.
No, I remember handling them when I was in Denby or whatever. They were the easiest things to handball around, were they?
And there was no packing machines when I first started. It was all done by foot.
All right.
We used to have 4 ropes hanging from the roof.
Yeah.
And we used to have big square bales called 62s and 72s.
Yeah.
62 inches and 72 inches.
Yeah.
And they used to be square, and they used to have a fellow inside, and then you'd pack them all up.
Yeah.
And then they'd take it all to Bradford in the end,
When was the first time you had the packing machine? Was it the old bank bottom, or was there something before that?
No, we had something called the wool drollic from New Zealand.
All right. So that was
a lethal machine, really, but that was before health and safety, of course. When health and safety came in, woof, it's gone. But that was the wool drollic. It was a marvellous machine. Yeah. But it was very dangerous. But touch wood, we never had any accidents.
Well, no, that's
it. You just carry on.
Yeah. And it's interesting talking about, the machinery and things. I know from having a conversation with Frank a couple of weeks ago during your time when you were on the board, the mass machine, the packing machine that we've got now was developed during your time.
Yes, it was.
And then the compacting machine as well.
Yes.
And it's interesting really that what we use today was developed back in the day when you and Frank and your fellow boy. What do you remember about that time when we were looking at that type of machinery?
Well, what we were trying to do was to trim costs, and the one area that was costing money was haulage. We weren't getting enough weight on these lorries, but of course once we got the compacting machines, we were able to increase the weight on the lorries considerably and thereby reduce the cost of haulage. You know, we looked in every area possible to make savings wherever we could, and that was one area where we managed to do that. But you know what, I mean, this organisation is only as good as those people we employ, and I'm sitting here right next to two people that have had a wonderful impact on this organisation, and the personal contact is something that we're losing in the age that we live. But it means a lot to a farmer to be dealing with someone that he knows, that he trusts, and knows the information he's going to get is going to be fair and straight. And I mean, going back to my school days, I left school at 14, so I'm not as educated as you were, Dewi. But I well remember going to school when the depot was there by the bridge, and you know, at the beginning of June, you'd have trailers queuing back hundreds of yards, if not half a mile, and it suited me fine because the school bus was caught up behind them. But then you introduced a system where it was more organised and you had to book in. But in those days, farmers were desperate to get the wool in because it was an important check. It came at a critical time of year when it had been a long winter and not much income during those months. So wool was extremely important. I can well remember when I was a little boy with my grandfather, if a sheep died, we'd have to go and pull the wool off that dead sheep, and you know, there'd be a market for it. So nothing was wasted in terms of wool. The other thing, of course, that changed, I think that was in 1975. I believe that was the last time that we washed sheep. And then we were asked not to wash sheep anymore.
It used to be washing the river.
We used to stamp the river up.
That's
and, this summer it would have been quite difficult because there's not enough water. So things have changed. All we need now is for the price to change, and I'm convinced it will. It's a case of when. It's a fabulous product. And the other thing, that the wool board, of course, in our situation, it plays a key role because there was a time when I was involved, it took as long to train to be a grader as it would to become a doctor. But that was justified because it's only when you sent wool in here of different breeds of sheep, you realised how professional these people were. You know, they could tell you if you had a Llanwennog ewe in the flock. They could tell you if you had a Llyn ewe in the flock. So you didn't take issue with them on the standard of grading because you knew these guys were professional and they were fair. And for somebody with a flock like ours, where we have a Heinz 57 of breeds, it's important that it is graded to maximise the value of that wool, because if we had Welsh sheep and some bluefaced Leicester sheep and it was sold without grading, well, you wouldn't get your £4, £5, £6 a kilo for your Leicester. It would be the lowest common denominator. And of course, that's how you add value, isn't it? Presenting something for sale in the right category, and you enhance its value as much as possible.
Exactly. And like I said, the grading, you know, it's add value to the farmer, but what I always find amazing when you're talking with the grader, you know, if the staple's a bit weak because there's a check in it, or, you know, or this ewe's had a difficult 12 months or bad health, you know, there's so much the grader can tell by the fleece that's in front of them, isn't it? You know. But it's interesting what you were saying about the value back in the day. I remember, and there we'll remember, when I worked in Denby, the 1st of May was booking in day. I'd turn up in the office at 7:30 in the morning and there would have been at least 20 farmers queued up, not to bring their wool in, just to book it in and get the slots in the diary. And and that carried on for years. And it's tradition as well.
Of course.
People would come in. I normally get it in on the 20th of June. You can have 20th of June this year as well. And it's funny, isn't it? You know, but that goes back to the personal contact as well. You know, at that time, they knew me and I virtually knew Mr. Jones from Zilach or whatever, you know what I mean?
I think in this depot, there was a week that none of us could book because it was Cantref week or Cantref day, and in the days of Fred Ackroyd, that was a very big day. It wasn't just delivering and unloading the wool. wool,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of socialising to do
Yeah,
at the
there
end
was,
of it.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, there's a lot of...
but that's PR.
Yeah.
And PR never gonna miss.
No,
I've not heard that name for a lot. He was the manager here before you, was he?
Fred Ackroyd.
Yeah, but I've not heard that name for a
Oh,
long
you haven't
time.
heard? Oh, right.
No, I've heard the name, but I've
Yeah.
not heard it for a long time. I never met
Yeah,
him
yeah.
or whatever, but he would have been the manager before you were
Yeah,
here then,
well,
wouldn't he?
he'd done 25 years, and that's when he was retiring, they asked me to take over from him. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a Yorkshire man, real Yorkshire man.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Oh, real broad Yorkshire,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you moved from Dinas down to Brecon, obviously you said you were going from the smallest depot to the biggest.
yeah.
What were the other, and obviously you said the Welsh dialect
Yeah,
and so
the
on.
Welsh dialect went out through the window for a while.
In
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of the depot and the wool and the job that you were coming down to do, what were the biggest sort of differences between the two, do you
The
think?
size of everything,
Yeah.
you know, the amount of wool that was coming in every day, I couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the amount of wool that we used to do in 12 months was what we used to do here in a couple of months.
Yeah.
You'd have 6 graders here, we had 2 graders up in Dinas,
Yeah.
which, you know, the volume of wool coming in was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there was no, when I first come down here, there was no restriction. The people would just turn up and they'd be there, as you say, queuing for hours on end, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Because there was no booking in system then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we introduced that,
Yeah.
and then we'd have collecting centres from all the South Wales here.
Yeah.
We used to use farms and yards and people, you know. We'd send a lorry down there for 100 sheets.
Yeah.
But now it's more like 200 sheets, you
Yeah,
know. How
yeah.
things have altered, you
Yeah.
know, over the years.
But it's interesting again, or whatever, you know, the contribution you've made here in Brecon, the way you used to collect wool across South Wales is the same
Yeah.
as what we do now. You know, in terms of sending a lorry to Aberystwyth on Rugby Club and park
Yeah.
up and people drop. It's exactly the same. You know, we've got a couple of collection centres, but the majority are done by Helen in the office, planning all these different
Yes,
days,
yes.
and then we go to the same place, the same day every year.
Yeah.
The farmers know it's a reliable service,
Yeah.
and it helps the team here that we get the wool in off the farm, doesn't it?
Yeah, it used to start the last week in May and used to carry on till the end of September then.
That's it.
Collecting centres, and after that it was all, well, producer delivery then,
Yeah. Yeah.
from all over the place. You know,
Yeah.
some people would say, no, I bring my own wool in, because they used to get paid then, of course,
Yeah.
for bringing, I can't remember, was it a quarter of a pence or something like that per
used to get-
kilo?
I think I think they used to get 4 pence a kilo for producer delivered, I think, something like that.
At the end, yes.
At the end,
it
yeah,
was,
that's it. And there used to be a storage as well, didn't there?
Yes, the storage after 1st of September.
That's it, yeah.
Nobody bring their wool in before the 1st of
No,
September.
the last 2 weeks of August are always quiet because they
Yes,
keep hold of it.
yeah.
And I had a friend in the Senni Valley whose clip wasn't worth a lot because the sheep he kept. And there was one year in particular when the storage was worth more than the wool.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think they were Balwins or something like that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So,
But the other thing it did, I mean, your high season would coincide quite often with school holidays, and you provided employment for a lot of farm boys in this area. I mean,
Yes, we did,
I knew a lot of the youngsters in here when I used to call in, and it was a good experience. You know, you had to get stuck in, and you were feeding the man there, and you had to keep going, and it was good grounding for young people.
No, and you know, Denby where I worked has got a small town, but the majority of people in Denby did the summer in the wool factory. And there's lots of people that I see now that know me from working in the wool factory because they came in the summer and whatever. So
It's difficult for us to comprehend the importance and the significance of wool to this country many years ago, and particularly Bradford. I can remember being told at board that there were more Bentleys in Bradford than there were in London because of the wool trade. I mean, you just cannot believe it, can you?
No.
Let's hope those days return.
yes, So you mentioned Bradford there, so you will have had a few trips to Bradford over 12 years then?
Yeah, I had some good trips to Bradford, had some good company. Tom Tudor, for many years. Tom and I had good chats, and you know, for me, going to Bradford from the hills of Ponsenni here, it is, you know, it is another world. I thought I'd been on on an aeroplane, a different culture, lovely city. I still didn't know my way around Bradford, having been there 12 years. I could quite easily get lost, but I found the staff, you know, very welcoming, very kind. Yeah, good team, and I really missed going to Bradford. I met some good people from around the country whom I still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, in terms of the the role of board member, then can you give us just a little bit of an insight? You know, what was the role in terms of representing farmers across South Wales? You know.
Well, you know, you're there to represent the views of farmers. Farmers would come on to you in the market. 9 times out of 10 they'd complain about the price, but you know, 1 out of 10 might have some constructive idea as to how you could improve the operation, and you went to the board with that idea. But equally important, of course, you would explain to farmers as well why you changed the system, because that wasn't always too palatable. So you know, one went to meetings around the area that you represented and had spoke with farmers, and I think they were dissatisfied with the board until you explained to them how it worked, why it was as it was, and reassured them that the price that they were getting for their wool was compatible with global prices. You would never better global prices, because wool is wool, doesn't matter where it's produced in the world, it might be a different quality. So long as you can reassure them that what you're doing is the best that's available, they were reassured. Some, of course, have decided to take an alternative route. That route will be fine so long as the board is in existence. I think if the board didn't exist, that road could become quite bumpy. And we'd be at the mercy then of wheelers and dealers who have their own interests at stake and nobody else's. And the other thing, of course, we've done over many years is to train some of the finest shearers in the country. And you know, we can proudly say today some of the very best shearers on the planet are here in Wales in particular. And you know, that's thanks to British Wool Marketing Board training.
So in your 48 years then, have you got a little anecdote or a little funny story for us from your time?
There was a lot of good stories, but I'm not going to tell you them like that. A lot of alcohol was consumed years and years ago. Like every dinner time, they'd go to the pub, have a good. And then when we come back, of course, there was always banter then, you know.
Did the grading change, though?
No.
Well, not as far as I know.
But had you been to the pub as well, though? So you wouldn't realise, maybe?
Not when I took over as manager, no.
No.
When I was an apprentice, when the other manager was there, yes, we used to spend a lot of time in the pub, you know, which is once you've done your work. But the amount of wool, it came more pressure because they wanted more weight graded per day. If you didn't grade, say 6 ton a day, you weren't worth having. You know?
No.
In the end, you know, it didn't mix in the end. Like,
No.
And health and safety, of course.
Well,
That was the one thing that did absolutely change everything. Absolutely everything. You had to teach, which used to make me laugh. The casuals used to come in. You had to go through all this spiel of telling them what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. You had to teach them to cut a piece of string with a penknife. And which way to do it and which way not to do it, you know. And perhaps you wouldn't see them after one day, so you'd get somebody else in. And we go through sometimes up to about 30, 35 casuals a year that they wouldn't last. They just didn't want it, you know. But I think things are different now. They'd be paid a lot more than what we used to have, of course, you know.
And did you have a an anecdote or a little story from? You've probably got plenty from your time up in
That
travelling to Bradford.
That you could broadcast?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's thinned them out quite a bit.
Yes.
I mean, I used to find the government appointees fascinating people because we were poles apart, in our backgrounds. I mean, I was a boy, left school at 14, and Dudley Hutchins and I mean, we had nothing at all in common. He dressed very smart. He was dressed in designer clothes, which I'd never seen the likes of before. And he had these pointed shoes, and they were shining, They'd never seen dirt in their lives. And I remember we went on a trip down to see Frank Langrish, and we went to have a look at these cattle in the field. And Dudley stepped in some cow muck. And he said, "Oh, Christ almighty," he said, "I'm going to chuck his bloody things in the bin when I get back." It shows, how far apart the urban population and the farming population really are. But those government appointees were, they were pivotal to the operation because they brought a totally different skill set to what farmers had. And I had a lot of respect for each and every one of them. They were wonderful people. But we had plenty of laughs.
Yes, well,
plenty of laughs.
So, as we come to an end now, what would you say would be the high point of your 48 years working in the industry and with British Wool?
I think coming down to Brecon.
Yeah.
That really opened my eyes because, as I say, I went from the smallest stepper to the biggest stepper. And the amount of pressure that was put on you then, I can still recall it now. That,
as a 22-year-old as well, as a young man.
Yes, quite. It's funny how things have altered.
Yeah.
Altered for the good, I suppose.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah.
But otherwise,
And how about your 12 years at British Wool?
I think it was educational for me because, I thought wool was wool. And I had great ideas when I became involved, right? I thought, the hotels in Cardiff are going to have Welsh wool in their carpets and that's it. And I thought, that's going to be great. But then you realise the complexity of wool and how you turn it into manufacture to a carpet or a dress or whatever. In order to make a good carpet, you need wools from other parts of the world to give it resilience and what have you. There was an awful lot to learn about wool, and that was part of my job, was to sort of explain to farmers, that you couldn't make a jumper out of wool from North Wales or South Wales.
No.
Very little wool in this part of the world be good enough for sweaters and things like that. There's an awful lot to learn.
I thought that you just said that your highlight was being on an interviewing panel that gave a young Dan Bill a job back in 2008, but maybe not.
I can remember that. I can remember that day very well, Gareth. And we've never regretted for 1 minute what we did that day when we appointed you. And you've done a wonderful job. And I can remember me asking you the question: how would you react in a heated situation? Because I knew full well, with wool prices where they were, you were heading into an area that could get quite fiery. And from that point of view, we couldn't have appointed a better person in the same way as Di Jarvis was before. His contribution to this organisation, particularly in Wales and beyond, was immeasurable.
Well, I was going to mention Di Jarvis or David Jones, who's sadly no longer with us, but that's when I came back to British Wool when they retired. But I was going to ask you both about your memories of Day, because obviously he was like a mentor to me a little bit during my time in Denby. I kept in touch with him after, and I came back. You thankfully were on the panel, but one of the reasons was because David Jones said, "I'm retiring, they've changed the role, you're ideal for the job, I want you to go for it." And I probably wouldn't have done if Day hadn't have told me. But what are your memories, because like you said, he would have made a massive contribution, wouldn't he, in Wales?
It's key for in certain posts, and yours in particular. And I mean, if you're an MLC grader in the market in the days when you have to deduct weight and reject lambs, that personality is so important to keep the peace.
Yes.
And not to send people away pleased, but satisfied.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
people have to be satisfied having had a chat with you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't deliver all their expectations, but you have the art of being able to explain it in a way that they're prepared to accept. And people like graders and yourselves are key to the future. They've been key in the past and they'll be key in the future to this operation, particularly in a time where being able to speak directly to someone that can make a little difference is becoming ever more frustrating and difficult.
Yeah.
So long may you continue the good work, Gareth, and build on what these graders built over the years, because I would hate to see the day when we don't have a British Wool Marketing Board, and we need to get that message out loud and clear to the farmers, because we have a flock that's in decline.
Yeah.
Which is certainly going to impact on operational costs. But I think we have a product that has the potential to shoot in value one morning. But it's a long time coming.
Yes.
But rest assured, it's on the way.
Yeah. And just going back to Dave Jarvis or David Jones, he was from Machynlleth, so you will have known Dave right from the beginning, probably.
Yes, Di and me were apprenticeships together.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, he worked for his father in Machynlleth.
Yeah.
And I was in Dinnesmalley, and we both went to the first apprentice course that they had in Bradford.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I've known Di since he was about 16, 17. Yeah.
And he'd retired, like I said, in 2008, and he would have been visiting the depot in those days.
Yes, he did.
2 or 3 times a month, because he was like the regional manager,
Well, I
wasn't he?
knew him as a grader for years and years, and then the next minute he was in charge of everybody. You know? Yeah, I got on all right with that.
No, I think a lot of people, he was very fair, wasn't he?
Yeah,
You
he
know,
was.
He was a good chap. Yeah.
Those who swept the floor command respect, don't they? When they get elevated.
Yeah.
And that's where we've been very lucky in this organisation. Most of these boys have come from the bottom up, and they are respected.
Yeah.
If you haven't done it yourself, it's difficult to tell others to do it, but these men could do that.
And then we've talked about the highlights. Was there a low point during your time?
Foot and mouth.
No,
2001.
Foot and mouth. Twice it happened.
Well, yes. Well,
We didn't know what was going to happen.
66 was it before that? Were you?
66. I was up north then.
Ah, yes, that's it.
But that didn't really affect it. I can't
Was it
remember
66 or 67?
Yeah, some were 67, I think it was.
67.
And the
yeah.
others came when I was down here.
2001.
2001. I was in Denby then. I
yeah.
remember then. Yes.
That was horrendous.
Yeah.
You could see it all coming around you, and you thought, well, what are we going to be doing?
And this area in particular as well, wasn't it? You know, it was a
because the graders, you know, we did nothing but look, grade wool, and there was nothing else that we could do.
No.
It's just lucky that we had enough wool in store to keep us going, like, you know.
Yeah,
but, Oh, that was horrible.
No.
Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
There have been challenges, and there have been other little challenges as well. I well remember those two cows that had anthrax down in the Glamorgan area. We lost the Chinese market for several years because of those two cows. Surprising little things can make a big, big difference. And there's so much political uncertainty and currency fluctuation. There's so many things that are out of our control. But, I mean, there is less wool being produced, and whilst it's not good for the depot, or for the business, it's, you know, it should help wool prices.
And then you've touched on it already, Gethin, but you know how crucial, we're celebrating 75 years of British wool. You know, how relevant and crucial is British wool today that it was back then, do you think, for farmers?
British wool is absolutely crucial, because I know that I'm going to get a fair price for my wool. It's going to be professionally graded. I'm not going to be treated differently to anyone else. But I think above all, whilst there are alternatives, the alternatives couldn't possibly deal with the 20-odd million clip that we produce in this country. We have the infrastructure right across the country to take wool from every producer in the land, whereas the alternative, they're cherry picking, they're sporadic, they're here, they're there, but they're not everywhere. So I think this, just like the Farmer's Fresh, which is a farmer-run processing business.
Yeah.
It's crucial to the lamb meat industry. The British wool has served us for 75 years, and I certainly hope that they've got another 75 in them, because if they haven't, we will lose out.
And how about yourself, Dewi, in terms of looking back at the 75 and looking ahead to the future?
Well, we didn't get to know a lot about the marketing side of it. That was the difference between Gethin and myself.
Yeah.
I can tell you anything about wool, but
Yeah.
on the marketing side, Gethin would know a lot more than I did, because we didn't get involved.
No.
We just did the labouring part of it.
Yeah.
But the wool board to us was a guarantee that we'd have a job.
Yeah.
But all these private companies, I can remember when I was a youngster, there was a lot of small companies throughout Wales. They've all gone.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Brecon depot is still going, and the Newtown depot is still going, but all the others are gone. All they are collecting centres, which at least some of the boys have still got work.
Yeah. And one of the things from British Wool perspective, you know, the support to the industry is that we're involved in all stages of the supply chain, and we're dealing with the raw material. We're training shearers on farm, we're processing the wool, we're selling the wool, we're marketing the wool. You know, so we're involved in
all the way.
Lots of different stages, whereas there's other organisations that might be involved at this end,
Of course.
in the middle, at the end, but you know, we're quite involved in all of it, and it's important, isn't it?
And of course, the other advantage the wool board has, that it drip feeds the market 12 months, 11 months a year, whereas if you didn't have the wool marketing board, 20 million kilos would hit the market all at once. And there's only one outcome then, and it doesn't take an economist to say what that is.
No.
So it's win-win-win with the wool marketing board, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, on that positive note, thank you both very much for taking the time and effort to come in here this morning. It's clear to see your passion for wool and British wool, and between the two of you made a huge contribution in the area, and we look forward to welcoming you to the open day in the depot here on Thursday the 2nd of October. So look forward to it then.
Diolch yn fawr, Gareth.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.